boom, 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 boom. Kioski with morning coffee. Simultaneous Sime. All right, so if by definition the country called Israel is the Hebrew people, discounting, of course, all Jewish people outside of there, and given the fact that Hebrew is kind of like a family religion thing that you don't just decide one day you're Jewish. Like you have to marry into a Jewish family. I mean, I guess you can practice Judaism, but you would be like a Gentile practicing Judaism. That's kind of what Christianity was supposed to be about, right? So, if by that logic, if that was true, that would mean that, like, I don't know, would that mean that I guess Vatican City is not a country, but like say England, like that's like a Protestant, like would all Protestants be represented by England then? So any criticism of the crown and it's like anything the British government does that you don't like is automatically what would that would be like like when the Christians talk about being persecuted, would that be persecution of Christians? You favor persecution of Christians because you disagree with England. That's what's saying that you disagree with the Israeli government's actions or its military's war crimes, which are demonstrable. By conflating that with anti-Semitism, because it simply isn't. That's not correct. That's just not correct. That implies that Donald Trump is all Americans. That means every single American might as well be Donald Trump, and you know that ain't true. So let's get back to reality. The right is misunderstanding the criticism that the girl had for Chelsea Clinton because they're hanging on what the news told them to think about, which is a single tweet that is supposedly the thing that is what this girl is talking about. But clearly in the video, the girl that walked up to Chelsea Clinton and started talking to her about this said, your rhetoric all this time, the last 2 years, she said it. So Scott Adams is 100% right. But other than Scott Adams and myself, I'm really not hearing anybody else talk about this fact. So not only is it, the centered around, they're trying to make it about Representative Omar, whose remarks were accurate, factually speaking. To equate them with anti-Semitism is race baiting. Honestly, that's the person making the assumption that is anti-Semitic is the one who is in error based on some sort of a prejudice or bias. Most likely being that any criticism of Israel constitutes anti-Semitism. That's been propagandically beaten into everybody's fucking head for the last probably 30, 40 years. I mean, surely there's been things longer, but, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a Jewish conspiracist. I actually have a feeling that it's the OPEC, Arabic oil nations mostly, those monarchies in the Middle East that are actually kind of painting Israel as the patsy of the, or whatever. They're making them out to be the actual problem, but I don't think they are. But they're the ones that really have the law. There was anti BDS proposed against Saudi Arabia because of they were talking about Saudi oil or something, and I don't think that ever happened. It happened, but it didn't follow through. They didn't pass anything in either direction. So yeah, it's a weird situation because honestly, Chelsea Clinton has spread a lot of really hateful, untrue things about Donald Trump in the last 2 years. She has been one of the people that really just trying to make him out to be something terrible. And it turns out the actual manifesto that the shooter had apparently has vague references to a couple of places where he agrees with Donald Trump, and in other places he does not. So, like, the words were, "Oh dear God, no," about his policies. So the media is lying about the reasoning that this person had, the nature of his character. He was not a Trump supporter. But even by this media narrative, it still points out the fact that those same media people, as well as all these other idiotic Democratic Party operatives have all been spreading misinformation, saying things that are demonstrably untrue, or at least cannot in the least bit be validated. That might as well be untrue. You can't prove it. You can't find any instances. I'm sorry, you're getting into that whole he's both an evil genius and a complete nincompoop at the same time thing. That's cognitive dissonance, is all that is. So these people with their unchecked cognitive dissonance and their fit throwing and whatever else are basically responsible for 2 years worth of lies that have been mainstreamed to the point that you can easily blame false flag violence by saying the patsy had been influenced by, most likely, the responsibility falling onto people who spread the misinformation, not the person the misinformation is about. I mean, why would you, it's, somebody says that Richard Gere put a gerbil in a condom up his butt, and it turns out it's like completely untrue, that shit never happened, right? But then you go around and you actually meet Richard Gere and you give him shit about somebody else that got seriously injured because they heard that and they tried it, and he'd be like, dude, I didn't even do that. Why the fuck are you coming to me? Why don't you go to who spread that rumor? That's how it works. So anyways, I've wasted fucking 6.5 minutes now of my time on this topic, but the fact is nobody else is saying it, so I'm going to say it. That's what it is. IlhanOmar is not an anti-Semite. She has also criticized Muslim countries for the exact same things she criticizes Israel for. So what, is she Islamophobic? She's a fucking Muslim. As far as the Judge Janine thing goes, I think Janine was out of line. I don't know that she needs to be pulled off the air, but that Sharia law crap they're spreading is not a fucking thing. That's not going to happen. So, and I'm not saying that because I'm in denial. I'm saying that it really is in complete conflict with the Constitution to be able to institute any religious fucking doctrine in this country as law. It's the same reason you don't mandate prayer in schools, stupid. So anyways, I'm going to do my impression of Styx, Hex and Hammer 6066. And that's about all. Okay.